Hello dear students, welcome to Sanskriti IAS. I am Karuna Mishra and I will be helping you with understanding geography. बचपन से जब हम ज्योग्राफी पढ़ते आए हैं हमारे दिमाग में दो तीन चीज़ें चलती हैं कि ज्योग्राफी में मैप्स रटने होते हैं, ज्योग्राफी में फैक्ट्स रटने होते हैं. ज्योग्राफी उनका अच्छा होता है जिनका टेक्निकल अच्छा होता है या जिनको साइंस बहुत अच्छे से आती है. द ब्यूटी अबाउट दिस सब्जेक्ट इज इट इज़ नन ऑफ दिस, दीज आर ऑल मिथ्स. ज्योग्राफी एक इतना खूबसूरत सब्जेक्ट है कि यदि आपको ज्योग्राफी समझ में आ गई तो आपको सब समझ में आ जाता है कि क्यों दो देशों के बीच में लड़ाई हुई थी, क्यों करंटली रशिया ने यूक्रेन पर अटैक किया है, क्यों आपका रेड सी रूट और मेडिटेरेनियन सी रूट वाला जो रीजन है जिसमें इजराइल है, पैलेस्टाइन है, टर्की है, सीरिया है, यहाँ हमेशा जंग क्यों छिड़ी रहती है. व्हाट इज़ द रीज़न वाई इन इंडिया फ्यू एरियाज आर वेरी वेरी प्रॉस्परस एंड हैव बीन प्रॉस्परस वाइल फ्यू एरियाज आर ऑलवेज बैकवर्ड. कोस्ट लाइन का क्या इंपॉर्टेंट रोल होता है. जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ आई आस्क यू which are the richest states of the country, the states which come to your mind are Maharashtra, Karnataka, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, maybe Punjab and Haryana. But do you notice that majority of these states happen to be in the coastal areas? What are the benefits? And not just coastal areas, do they also benefit from being in the peninsular India? What are the different resources? What are the reasons that Chola Empire was so strong? What was the reason why Marathas and Tipu Sultan's empire was also strong? See, geography kahan ghus gaya? History mein. So this is the beauty about geography. Geography helps you not only understand this subject itself, which is one of the big four subjects. Now what do you mean by big four? In UPSC syllabus, you have multiple subjects, but not each subject has the similar weightage or the similar depth. Few subjects have to be studied in a lot of depth, few subjects have to be tackled with a lot of understanding and brevity, such as in geography, world geography, you also have history. Within history you have multiple portions, you have world history, you have ancient history, medieval, etc. Then you have Indian economy and you also have the Indian polity. Now these are the areas within the UPSC syllabus which have to be dealt with a lot of detailing. Then you have subjects which are sometimes attached with the main subject. For example, with polity you have IR, international relations. With geography you have environmental science. Any person who has a good understanding of geography will by default be able to understand environment also very well, and both geography and environment in prelims carry roughly 25 to 30 questions. समझ रहे हैं आप. अगर आपको ज्योग्राफी बहुत अच्छे से आती है और उसके थ्रू इफ़ यू आर गुड इन एनवायरनमेंट, इफ़ यू आर गुड इन इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस और इवन इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी, दैट व्हाई यू हैव इश्यूज इन सर्टेन एरिया, good understanding of this subject will not help you in the subject questions of geography alone, but also with the questions of the other subjects. ज्योग्राफी का जो सिलेबस है वो बहुत प्यारा डिफाइंड है. ज्योग्राफी में जो सबसे खूबसूरत बात है, देर इज़ अ लॉजिक बिहाइंड एवरीथिंग. देर इज़ अ कॉज एंड देन देर इज़ अ इफेक्ट. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ आई लुक एट द वेटेज ऑफ ज्योग्राफी एज अ सब्जेक्ट, ज्योग्राफी में प्रीलिम्स में अमूमन 12 से 17 क्वेश्चंस आते हैं. यू हैव समवेयर बिटवीन 12 to 17 questions which come directly from geography. When it comes to means, geography is a part of GS paper 1. General Studies paper 1, GS paper 1 which also has history as a component. So geography, history, Indian society, these are the major components, and within the mains also you get somewhere between 9 to 10 questions. Any day you have around 9 questions, can exceed even more than 9 or 10 questions. So this is the weightage of geography in your mains, and in the mains you get 20 questions. So roughly 50% of the weightage comes from this subject. Then you have the role of geography in understanding subjects like environment better, understanding subjects like IR better. Why IR? So that you understand the resource distribution. And if you ask me, if you know the mapping of the world and our country very well, if you understand where are the different resources, if you understand where are the river basins, where are the river banks, how the river system works, you will also be very excellent in both world history and Indian history. And in fact, in the recent years in UPSC, even if you look at the study material, there is a trend of writing books about history through maps. So don't you think that geography is helping you in not only the subject of its whole, but also these subjects? And any person who has a good understanding of geography will be quick to understand why certain areas are having certain problems. For example, जब हम classes में अलग अलग geography के कॉन्सेप्ट्स में जाएंगे, तब हम ना ही सिर्फ ये समझेंगे कि हिमालयन सिस्टम क्या है, हिमालय के कितने रेंजेस हैं, कहाँ पर काराकोरम रेंज है, वेयर इज़ लद्दाख रेंज, वेयर इज़ जास्कर रेंज, हम ये भी समझेंगे कि क्यों कारगिल वॉर इतनी खतरनाक थी, वाई इट वॉज सो डिफ़िकल्ट फॉर इंडिया टू नॉट ओनली मैनेज कारगिल वॉर एंड टू विन इट. कारगिल वॉर इतिहास की सबसे कठिन वॉर है. It is considered as the most difficult battlefield in the mountains and one of the most difficult wars. उसके पीछे कारण क्या है? वहाँ की ज्योग्राफी. और वो ज्योग्राफी में भी आप जब हमारे साथ जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी पढ़ेंगे, आप देखेंगे कि माउंटेन के शेप्स ने एक बहुत बड़ा रोल प्ले किया था कि कैसे हिंदुस्तान के लिए वो जंग जीतना बहुत गर्व की बात है. सो यू अंडरस्टैंड, यू ऑल्सो get to know the nitty gritty of it. For example, recently पहलगाम में जब अटैक हुआ था, why it took so much time for the security forces to come? What are these valleys? How these valleys are different from the mountain system? Or for example, we will also try to look into the reason of why is it always the Assam which floods in northeast of India, whereas what I have studied is maximum rainfall is in Meghalaya. मेघालय का कभी मौसिन राम, कभी चेरापूंजी, हमको यही बताया जाता है. लेकिन जब बात आती है बाढ़ की, तो बाढ़ कहाँ पर आ रही है? असम में. उत्तर प्रदेश में भी, ईस्टर्न उत्तर प्रदेश में बाढ़ आती है और बिहार में बाढ़ आती है. कि किस तरीके से हिंदुस्तान की रचना हुई है. हाउ इज़ इंडिया फॉर्म्ड? व्हाट आर द लो लाइंग एरियाज? व्हाट आर द प्लेट्यूज? व्हाट आर द प्लेन्स which are responsible for these natural calamities also? So the geography will also help in understanding disaster management. So see, this is the possibility of how geography can help you in the UPSC preparation. In prelims, you will get somewhere between 25 to up to 35 marks from geography. In mains also you have somewhere between 100 to 120 marks coming from this subject, and of course the rest is bonus how the geography can help you. Now the question comes, how do I divide geography? What are the different components of geography? Now as per UPSC syllabus, I have taken this screenshot from the NCERT. What are the books? What to expect? What are the different parts of the subject? What is the correct way of preparation? Let me help you one by one. Now, when we talk about the different components of geography, the biggest component and the most important, which kind of makes the very basic foundation of the geography, is physical geography. Now within the physical geography, we have other components such as geomorphology, climatology, and third is oceanography. Now, what is the meaning of these three parts? How to deal with it? Now, what is geomorphology? Geomorphology is understanding how the different features of the earth have evolved, how they have developed over the time. If there is a mountain system, why Himalayas are different from Sahyadris or Western Ghats, why the Jharkhand plateau is different from the Deccan plateau, why Aravalli hills and the hills of Nagaland are different from each other, are they built or are they have a different timeline of formation? Are they formed by different methods? What are these processes which are involved? आखिर इनमें इतना भेद क्यों है? Why is it that the Himalayas are extremely tall mountain system, whereas when I look at Vindhyas, when I look at Satpuras, they are not as tall as Himalayas? Why certain areas of India are benefiting from this height or altitude, while some areas are facing floods because they do not have this orography or mountain formation? So my job will be two things. One, not only to teach you the processes responsible for development of landforms, so we will be talking about the different processes which are responsible for the development of landforms. We shall also be slowly building the vocabulary of geography. This nobody tells you, कोई आपको ये नहीं बताता कि ज्योग्राफी की अपनी एक वोकैबुलरी है. ज्योग्राफी में लैंग्वेज बहुत बड़ा रोल प्ले करती है. I will be keeping my classes like this only. They will be thoroughly in English, but I will try to explain the process in Hindi as well. Reason being, those students who are well versed in English shall benefit from that, and those students who have a little concern with their language can understand in the second language, but the dictation will be in a proper geographical language. So we will be taking care of the fact that our notes are good enough, sufficient enough to be written or to be used as a written material for the mains as well, so that you can simply read your notes and you are ready to go for your mains. Now, in this vocabulary, we will also be looking at the PDFs of NCERT. NCERT are important not only for prelims but also mains, and they are the basic books for UPSC preparation. So with each topic, I will also show you what is written in the NCERT, and then eventually we will write our notes. So first part in geomorphology, we will be understanding how the different landforms are formed. I will take this further separately also. Now, next is climatology. Within climatology, we will be talking about the different processes responsible for rainfall or precipitation. For example, how the pressure systems have developed, how the winds move from one location to another. Why do we have monsoon in those 3 months only, right? Why don't we have the monsoon in, let us say, timeline between February to May? Why is it that only after having extremely heat conditions we are having this kind of monsoon or rainfall? Why is it that sometimes the rainfall is very high and sometimes the rainfall is very less? ये क्या लानीना एलनीनो चलता रहता है न्यूज़पेपर्स में? हमको ये सारी चीज़ें समझनी है. हमको समझना है कि ना ही सिर्फ हम मॉनसून समझें, नॉट ओनली वी अंडरस्टैंड द मॉनसून, हम ये भी समझें कि मॉनसून फेलियर्स कैसे कैसे हो सकते हैं, मॉनसून्स में ड्रॉट्स कब कब हो सकते हैं, और करंट से कनेक्ट करके हमको ये भी पता होना चाहिए कि क्लाइमेट चेंज की वजह से इसमें क्या क्या बदलाव आ रहे हैं. यू हैव टू बी वेरी क्लियर बेटा. We will be building your basics, but I as a teacher I am very cautious of the fact कि मैं आपके साथ current affairs भी करती चलूँ. भले ही ये subject static दिखता हो, it might look like a static subject, but current affairs play an important role, and we will be taking care that during our classes, while we are doing the basics, we also carry the current affairs with us. We also add that component, so that when we are talking about monsoon, we also talk about climate change. We also talk about the changing weather patterns and the changing climatic patterns due to the greenhouse or the global warming. So we will be taking care of all of that. For example, in rainfall, the major focus will be on the monsoon pattern, the winter rainfall, etc. Next, we shall also be talking about processes like cyclones. We shall also be talking about the climatic zones. Now, what do you mean by climatic zones? How many of you have heard that India is a hot and humid country? India has a tropical climate. Now, how do we decide that which region has which kind of climatic conditions, what are these zones, what are the different factors, how have they been decided, what is the parameter of it, we will be understanding. यहाँ पर we will start from something as basic as humidity, temperature, and how these two components are responsible for every weather and climatic phenomena. Next we shall be talking about oceanography. Oceanography, as the name suggests, we will be talking about two things. One, the different features of the ocean basin. ओशन के अंदर जो अलग अलग फीचर्स होते हैं, क्या आप जानते हैं कि दुनिया की सबसे कंटिन्यूस माउंटेन रेंज हिमालयाज नहीं है. इट इज़ नॉट द हिमालयाज विच आर द मोस्ट कंटिन्यूस माउंटेन रेंज. इट इज़ एक्चुअली इन द Atlantics. In the Atlantic Ocean, you have the most continuous mountain system which is present. The only problem is, whenever it comes to mountains, we are only taught about the mountains which are present on the continents, which are continental in nature. We are never talked about, we are never taught about the mountains which are present in oceans and seas. So, in oceanography, we will start with understanding the different landforms which have been created, which are due to the different processes, and then we will be talking about the ocean water movement. We will also be talking about the movement of ocean water, how the ocean water moves from one location to another. You have to understand, on this earth, on this beautiful planet earth, you are having few areas where there is a lot of heat. For example, earth, in India you receive direct sunlight for more than 7 months, right? So, first we are a tropical country, and within that try to calculate the number of months where you have good temperatures, high temperatures. So, there is equatorial region, there is tropical region. Where do we have that? These are the regions that I am talking about. So, if I make a rough diagram of earth, these imaginary lines like equator, then you have this imaginary line at 23.5 degrees north and 23.5 degrees south. Now, this is my Tropic of Cancer. This is Tropic of Capricorn, Tropic of Capricorn, and this imaginary line is equator. These lines are called latitudes. The reason we are called tropical country is not only because we lie in the region where Tropic of Cancer is passing, but because this region receives direct sunlight throughout the year. From Tropic of Cancer to Tropic of Capricorn, this entire region receives direct sunlight throughout the year, and this is the reason this zone is called the zone of heat surplus. Now, this is the zone of heat surplus, but what about this region? This region, which is also called the polar zone. So, at roughly 66.5 degree north to this region, this is 66.5 degree south, and if this is 90 degrees north, this is North Pole, and if this is 90 degrees south, this is the South Pole. This entire region does not receive direct sunlight at all. There is always slanting rays. They never receive direct sunlight, they always receive slanting rays. So, first of all, the intensity and the quality of sunlight is very low, and because of this, these regions remain extremely cold. So, this is the cold region, and in terms of geography we will be writing this is the zone of heat deficit. So, beta, when it comes to climatology, our job to study both atmosphere and oceanography will be to understand how the heat transfer takes place, how the hot air and water from the area of heat surplus reaches the area of heat deficit, and how the cold air and cold water moves from the area of heat deficit towards the area of heat surplus. This movement of the air and water from a region of surplus to deficit and from deficit to surplus, this is where your entire climatology and oceanography it lies. This is the reason this movement of wind from one location to another based on temperature is the reason you and I experience different types of climatic condition. This is the reason India has one of the most strongest monsoon system. We will be trying to understand all of this and many more things which will be part of the climatology and oceanography. So, when I say movement of ocean water, when I say the occurrences of rainfall in climatology, we are talking about basically understanding the atmosphere and air movement. So, here we will be focusing on air movement, how the air moves in the form of wind from one place to another, from one continent to another, from one hemisphere to another hemisphere, and in the ocean we will be talking about how the water moves from one place to another. यही हमारा पूरा सार होगा। फिजिकल ज्योग्राफी में आप बेसिकली ये समझने की कोशिश करते हैं कि जो भी फिजिकल एंटिटीज़ हैं, जैसे कि क्या आप पहाड़ को देख सकते हैं, फिजिकली आप फील भी कर सकते हैं, यस। क्या नदियों को भी आप देख सकते हैं, यस। क्या आप प्लेन्स एरिया और प्लेट्यू एरियाज में भी फ़र्क बता सकते हैं, यस। ये सब जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी में आ जाएगा कि ये बने कैसे, नदियाँ इस जगह से इस जगह ही क्यों जाती हैं, वाई majority of the Indian rivers are moving towards the east, whereas when it comes to Narmada and Tapti, they are moving in the opposite direction. तो जब हम इस सब को समझ जाते हैं, हमारी किस पार्ट ऑफ ज्योग्राफी की समझ अच्छी होती है, जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी। When we are talking about क्लाइमेटोलॉजी, क्लाइमेटोलॉजी में मुझे कुल मिला के ये समझना है कि भारत में और दुनिया में इन जनरल किस तरीके की क्लाइमेटिक कंडीशंस होती हैं। अगर यहाँ पर इस टाइम पर बारिश होती है तो इसी टाइम पर क्यों होती है, अगर यहाँ पर इस टाइम पर सडनली टेम्परेचर कम हो जाता है तो क्यों हो जाता है, कहीं पर टेम्परेचर बहुत बढ़ा हुआ होता है तो क्यों होता है, और इस सब में समुद्रों का क्या रोल है। ओशंस प्ले अ ह्यूज रोल। In fact, when we will be studying, we will understand कि दुनिया में ट्रॉपिकल रीजन यानी कि इन एरियाज़ में इस एरियाज़ में ज़्यादातर जो डेजर्ट्स हैं या जो रेगिस्तान है, दे आर ऑन द वेस्टर्न मार्जिन, वो हर कॉन्टिनेंट के वेस्ट में है, और उनके वेस्ट में होने का एक बहुत बड़ा कारण है ओशंस इन दैट रीजन। सो एवरीथिंग विल बी इंटरकनेक्टेड। दिस विल बी द फर्स्ट पार्ट ऑफ ज्योग्राफी विच इज़ द फिजिकल ज्योग्राफी। अगर मैं ज्योग्राफी के दूसरे हिस्सों की बात करूं, ज्योग्राफी का अगला बड़ा हिस्सा आता है जिस पर हम फोकस करेंगे, विच इज इंडियन ज्योग्राफी। इंडियन ज्योग्राफी जो कि मैपिंग के लिए, प्रीलिम्स के लिए बेहद इंपॉर्टेंट है। इंडियन ज्योग्राफी बहुत अच्छे से किए बिना आप प्रीलिम्स पास नहीं कर सकते। यस, आपको यदि प्रीलिम्स में पास होना है, अच्छे मार्क्स लाने हैं, तो आपको इंडियन ज्योग्राफी बिल्कुल मुंह ज़बानी याद होनी चाहिए। याद का मतलब रट्टाफिकेशन नहीं है, मुझे समझ में आना चाहिए कि व्हेन आई एम ट्रैवलिंग फ्रॉम हियर टू देयर, अगर मैं इस रीजन से इस रीजन में जा रहा हूँ, इफ़ आई एम ट्रैवलिंग फ्रॉम साउथ टू नॉर्थ, रेनफॉल पैटर्न कैसा होगा, वेजिटेशन या फॉरेस्ट किस तरीके के होंगे, कौन से प्लेट्यूज कौन से प्लेन्स मिलेंगे। जब हम इंडियन ज्योग्राफी की बात करेंगे तो इसमें हम इस सब्जेक्ट को या इस टॉपिक को पढ़ेंगे from the point of view of first physical setting। फिजिकल सेटिंग का मतलब क्या होता है बेटा, हम जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी में ऑलरेडी पढ़ चुके हैं कि माउंटेन्स बने कैसे। We have already studied how the plateaus were formed, how the coastal regions were there, how the island formation took place. So we have already studied the method. Now we will study their distribution. So in the physical setting, we will be talking about the mountains. Now when I say mountains, we will not only be focusing about the Himalayan system, we will be talking about all the mountain ranges of the country. Then we will be talking about another extremely important part, and that is the river system, also called the drainage of India. बहुत बच्चों के लिए ये एक नया टर्म होगा, क्योंकि जनरली हम जो टर्म यूज़ करते हैं वो होती है रिवर सिस्टम या रिवर नेटवर्क. But river system, all the rivers of the India together, the kind of network that they make, that is called drainage of India. So this part of the syllabus is called the drainage of India. Next we will be talking about the plains, plateaus. प्लेट्यू यानी पहाड़, नदी, पहाड़, पठार हिंदी में अगर आपको याद हो तो इसी तरह हम किसी भी जगह को समझते थे. सो वील बी अंडरस्टैंडिंग द माउंटेन्स ऑफ द प्लेस, वील बी अंडरस्टैंडिंग द प्लेट्यूज ऑफ द प्लेस, वील बी अंडरस्टैंडिंग द रिवर्स ऑफ द प्लेस, वी विल बी अंडरस्टैंडिंग द प्लेन्स. नाउ विद इन द प्लेन्स वील बी अंडरस्टैंडिंग द प्लेन्स विच आर द alluvial plains formed like the North Indian plain, the Ganga Yamuna plain, the Ganga Indus plain, the Ganga Brahmaputra plain. We will also be talking about the coastal plains. जैसे आपने बचपन में पढ़ा होगा, थोड़ा सा मैं रिफ्रेश करती हूँ मेमोरी, कोंकण प्लेन्स, मालाबार प्लेन्स, देन यू हैव दी नदन सिरकार्स, कोरोमंडल प्लेन्स, उत्कल प्लेन्स. ये भी हम प्लेन्स के अंतर्गत पढ़ेंगे बिकॉज दीज आर वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर द कोस्टल इकोनॉमी. कोस्टल इकोनॉमी इंडिया का बहुत क्रूशियल पार्ट है. इंडिया का जो नक्शा अगर मैं रफली बनाऊं तो 7500 किलोमीटर की जो बॉर्डर है दैट इज़ हैविंग कोस्ट लाइन. और ये जो कोस्ट लाइन है ये इंडिया की इकोनॉमी के लिए बहुत ही इम्पॉर्टेंट है. तो इंडिया के लिए इकोनॉमिकली उसकी कोस्ट लाइन की जो इन्फॉर्मेशन है वो मेरे पास होनी बहुत ज़रूरी है. तो जब मैं जैसे ही इंडिया को देखती हूँ मेरे दिमाग में एक क्लियर पिक्चर होनी चाहिए कि इन प्लेन्स में the plains of Punjab, the plains of Rajasthan, Narmada plains, right? Plains created by Krishna Godavari. इन plains में आपस में डिफरेंस क्या है और कैसे ये जो plains हैं ये इकोनॉमिकली मेरे लिए बेहद इम्पॉर्टेंट है. उसके बाद हम अगला हिस्सा जो कि फिजिकल सेटिंग का पढ़ेंगे वो होंगे आइलैंड्स ऑफ इंडिया. इंडिया के जो आइलैंड ग्रुप्स हैं, एक आइलैंड ग्रुप मेरे पास यहाँ पे है विच इज़ माई अंडमान एंड निकोबार आइलैंड ग्रुप. दूसरा आइलैंड ग्रुप मेरे पास इस रीजन में है दैट इज़ लक्षद्वीप. आइलैंड ग्रुप्स मैंने जानबूझ के थोड़े बड़े बनाए हैं. अंडमान एंड निकोबार आइलैंड्स आने वाले 2-3 सालों तक फॉर नेक्स्ट 2 to 3 years फॉर UPSC प्रिपरेशन आर वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. Andaman and Nicobar Islands are undergoing a lot of changes. We are having a lot of military establishments over here. We are also converting the Nicobar Island into transshipment region. That is India's one of the biggest investment in this region. We want to create it as a hub for the movement of ships in Indian Ocean region. We are going to use Andaman and Nicobar Island as a counter to China in this region. देखिए ज्योग्राफी जब तक हम ढंग से नहीं समझेंगे ना बेटा, वी विल नॉट बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड IR एंड करंट अफेयर्स. मुझे जब तक समझ नहीं आएगा कि निकोबार आइलैंड्स की लोकेशन क्यों इतनी इंपॉर्टेंट है और क्यों मुझे अंडमान एंड निकोबार को बचा के रखना है, क्योंकि अंडमान एंड निकोबार म्यांमार से ज़्यादा पास पड़ता है. अंडमान एंड निकोबार में से इंडिया आने में आपको ज़्यादा समय लगेगा. इट इज़ वेरी डेंजरसली क्लोज टू म्यांमार एंड देयरफॉर नाउ गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया इज़ पुटिंग इन अ लॉट ऑफ एस्टैब्लिशमेंट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इन दिस रीजन. तो हम बेसिक सेटिंग तो पढ़ेंगे ही, लेकिन हम किसको भी लेते हुए चलेंगे, करंट अफेयर्स को. दायरा हमारा ज्योग्राफी का रहेगा. हमको बस सब्जेक्ट पढ़ के रट के नहीं जाना है, हमको इस चीज़ को सुनिश्चित करना है. वी हैव टू इंश्योर ऑफ द फैक्ट कि मेरा कोई भी क्वेश्चन प्रीलिम्स हो या मेंस ज्योग्राफी का गलत या छूटना नहीं चाहिए. इतना कॉन्फिडेंस इस सब्जेक्ट में आपको आ सकता है क्योंकि इस सब्जेक्ट की हमने पहले भी बताया सबसे खूबसूरत बात यह है कि अगर आपको प्रोसेसेस पसंद है, आपको लॉजिक पसंद है, तो आपने जैसे ही इसमें लॉजिक्स सेट करने शुरू कर दिए दैट इफ दिस विल हैपन दिस विल हैपन, इफ दिस हैपन्स देन दिस फॉर्मेशन विल टेक प्लेस, वेरेवर आई विल हैव plateaus of this age, I will have these kind of resources. you will not be in a position to lose any marks. So we'll be doing the India's physical setting like this. The next component of the Indian geography shall include the next part of geography, and that is human and economic geography. So that will be the next component of geography, and that is human and economic geography. तो geography के दो हिस्से हमने समझे. We have understood two parts of the geography, that is the physical geography and then the Indian geography. Now coming to the next component of geography, and this component of geography is human and economic geography. ह्यूमन एंड इकोनॉमिक ज्योग्राफी में फर्स्ट मिस्टेक, मैं सिर्फ इंडिया पढ़ के चला जाता हूँ या चली जाती हूँ, मेरा काम हो जाएगा, या फिर मैं कुछ थेरीज पढ़ के चली जाती हूँ, मेरा काम हो जाएगा. दोनों ही काम नहीं करने. सबसे पहले ह्यूमन एंड इकोनॉमिक ज्योग्राफी में हमको दो तीन चीज़ें पढ़नी है. पहला, जीएस को ध्यान में रखते हुए देर आर सर्टेन थेरीज. बहुत मुश्किल नहीं है, थेरी सुन के डरना नहीं है ना. ये आपकी कोई मैथ्स की थेरीज नहीं है, आपकी कोई फिजिक्स की थेरीज नहीं. बहुत आसान कॉन्सेप्ट्स हैं जिसके बेसिस पे हम ये डिसाइड करते हैं कि पॉपुलेशन किस तरीके से ग्रो होती है. So there are theories which are associated with population. For example, Malthusian theory. You have demographic transition theory. कोई बात नहीं, अभी नहीं समझ में आ रहा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, क्लासेस में आएगा समझ में. Malthusian theory, demographic transition theory, जैसे कि एक स्टेटमेंट था बहुत अच्छा कि पॉपुलेशन का जो पैटर्न होता है रीजन से ज़्यादा इकोनॉमिक प्रोस्पेरिटी पर भी डिपेंड करता है. और उसके अनुसार ये है कि इफ़ एनी रीजन इज़ अ लो इनकम रीजन, then in that area the people will be having multiple children. But as you will have economic and social upliftment, when you will have development on those lines, then slowly you will start seeing a decline in the birth rate. Taking example of Japan and Korea, people started saying that the development is the best contraceptive, that any region which is highly developed by default will have lesser fertility rate or lesser population growth. And if you notice, we are seeing it in India as well. In India, the areas which are still low income areas, there the fertility rate is high. What is fertility rate or total fertility rate? The number of children which are born to a healthy woman. So any woman who is reproductively fine or healthy, the number of children that she will be giving birth to, that is called total fertility rate. So in any region, we basically in population geography study this pattern, that how this pattern actually moves, and then we try to understand how India will understand the population growth and use this population for the economic development. Therefore, they are taught together, human and economic geography. This is part of human geography and population part. Economic geography is understanding the population growth for the economic development. In this, we shall also be understanding another concept, and that is urbanization. बहुत ही important area, अर्बनाइजेशन. नाउ व्हाट इज़ अर्बनाइजेशन? अर्बनाइजेशन में हम शुरू नहीं हो जाएंगे कि ये परेशानी है वो परेशानी, नहीं. जब हम अर्बनाइजेशन के बारे में पढ़ते हैं इसमें, तो हम ये समझते हैं कि कैसे कैसे सिटीज़ का डेवलपमेंट और उनकी ग्रोथ होती है, एंड हाउ द सिटीज़ डेवलप इन डिफरेंट एरियाज़. फिर हम इस कॉम्पोनेंट में आगे पढ़ते हैं द डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, वी विल स्टडी रेलवेज, we will study waterways, we will study the different ports, international ports, regional ports. So basically this will be part of my transport. And a very component of the entire human and economic geography will be migration. In migration, we'll be studying both internal migration and international migration. So in international migration, we will be talking about how the people are moving across the borders. What is the pattern? And within the internal migration, we will study why people of certain states, region are more prone to migration, and the vulnerability, how they are having very limited standard of living, how they are exposed to a lot of diseases, and how they are sometimes exploited also, because they do not belong to a state, or the different linguistic and regional problems associated with it. So this is what will be part of human and economic geography. Once we have a good understanding of all of this, then eventually we will be talking about a very, very important part, and that is resource distribution. रिसोर्सेज हम ज्योग्राफी पढ़ते पढ़ते ही करेंगे, और इन रिसोर्सेज को करने का सबसे अच्छा तरीका है मैपिंग. आपको हमारी क्लासेस में एटलस लेके बैठना होगा. हम हर क्लास में डेली मैपिंग करेंगे. हम कोशिश करेंगे ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोकेशंस मार्क करने की, क्योंकि बेटा मैपिंग से हर साल 4 से 5 क्वेश्चंस आ रहे हैं, तो आपका मैपिंग से डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन बनता है. आप जितनी अच्छे से मैपिंग करेंगे उतना आपके लिए अच्छा होगा. जैसे मैपिंग में हम डिफरेंट वाटर रूट्स, सी रूट्स हम समझेंगे. वी विल ऑल्सो फाइंड द एरियाज विच आर हैविंग अ लॉट ऑफ रिसोर्सेज. फॉर एग्जाम्पल कटंगा प्लेट्यू ऑफ अफ्रीका, वहाँ पर बहुत रिसोर्सेज हैं. यू हैव द मेक्सिको प्लेट्यू विच हैज़ अ लॉट ऑफ सिल्वर. यू हैव पेटागोनिया प्लेट्यू. तो वी विल ऑल्सो बी trying to find the areas which has the minerals and resources which are needed for India. जैसे कि इस साल सवाल आया था, the prelims had asked about the lithium triangle of South America. The prelims has asked that Venezuela has one of the highest oil and petroleum reserves. Venezuela, which is a small country of South America, has more petroleum and oil reserves than Saudi Arabia or Iran. We always assume that it is Russia, Saudi Arabia, Iran which are the major oil producers, but it is Venezuela with more proven oil reserves, and this was asked in your prelims. They are not concerned about Russian war in your prelims. India is interested in oil of Venezuela. So rather than asking कौन सी bilateral treaty है, कौन कहाँ गया, उन्होंने सीधा सा पूछ लिया कि वेनेजुएला की करंट पॉलिटिकल सिचुएशन क्या है और वेनेजुएला में दुनिया में सबसे ज़्यादा तेल पाया जाता है या नहीं. दैट्स इट. सो यू सी अ डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन ऑन मैपिंग. इससे पहले व्हेन यूक्रेन वॉर वाज गोइंग ऑन, दे हैड आस्क्ड व्हिच ऑफ दीज कंट्रीज आर अराउंड ब्लैक सी. क्यों? क्योंकि यूक्रेन खुद कौन से सी ट्रेड रूट को कंट्रोल कर रहा था मेजरली? ब्लैक सी. सो ब्लैक सी की वजह से रशिया ने एक्चुअली यूक्रेन पर अटैक भी करा, एक बहुत बड़ा फैक्टर है, और वो उन्होंने सीधा प्रीलिम्स में पूछ लिया. मेंस में वो आपसे सवाल पूछेंगे कि किस तरीके से भारत का जो मॉनसून है वो चेंज हो रहा है. जैसे यदि ईस्टर्न इंडिया के बच्चे हैं, ईस्टर्न उत्तर प्रदेश, बिहार, झारखंड के, तो वो बच्चे इस चीज़ से रिलेट कर पाएंगे. बेटा आपका मेंस का एक सवाल था दैट discuss the cultural significance of Purvaiya, which is the wind which flows during the monsoon. तो ना ही वो सिर्फ इंडियन मानसून पूछ रहे हैं, नॉट ओनली आर दे आस्किंग इंडियन मानसून, दे एक्सपेक्ट यू टू हैव गुड अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ इंडियन मानसून. दे ऑल्सो वॉन्ट यू टू अंडरस्टैंड द डिफरेंट कॉम्पोनेंट्स ऑफ इंडियन मानसून, कि इंडियन मानसून का ही एक हिस्सा है पुरवैया, और वो जो पुरवैया चलती है सबसे पहले वो बनी कैसे, वो विंड फॉर्मेशन कैसे हुई, उसकी डायरेक्शन ऐसी ही क्यों हुई, और दूसरा उसका उस रीजन में, उस प्रांत में कल्चरल सिग्निफिकेंस क्या है. डू यू सी कितना डेप्थ का क्वेश्चन बनता है. ऐसा सवाल नहीं है कि जिसको सॉल्व नहीं किया जा सकता, लेकिन केवल रट्टाफिकेशन से नहीं, आपको थोड़ा सा पर्सपेक्टिव भी ऐड करना पड़ेगा, एंड दैट इज़ व्हाट विल गिव यू गुड मार्क्स. सो कमिंग टू इट, फ्रॉम वेयर टू रीड and how to read to get good marks. I hope I have given you some idea about the syllabus and how we will proceed. Next, let us talk about the different study material. ज्योग्राफी का स्टडी मटेरियल, सबसे पहले ज्योग्राफी में लक्ष्मीकांत या इंडियन इकोनॉमी जैसी कोई किताब नहीं है, जो कि जनरली अमूमन मार्केट में बोली जाती है कि इसकी रेगुलर टेक्स्ट बुक है. सो दिस सब्जेक्ट डज नॉट हैव एनी सच बुक. सो व्हाट टू रीड as a study material? The first thing, your NCERTs are extremely important. NCERTs बेहद important role play करेंगी. NCERTs आपको पढ़नी है 6th से लेकर 12th तक. You will have to read the NCERTs from 6th to 12th. 6th, 7th, 8th की NCERT हो सकता है आपको बहुत सिंपल लगे, लेकिन एक बार उनकी रीडिंग ज़रूर कीजिएगा. You might find them a little simple, but once you read them once you have some idea, then it gives you the clarity of small things related to temperature, humidity, absolute humidity, relative humidity. These are few terms which are very simplified way. It has been explained in a very simplified way in these NCERTs. So don't assume that 6th standard NCERT will be, you know, a child's NCERT very easy. Please read it once. Which NCERTs within this also you have to read very religiously are 11th and 12th. 11th and 12th की चारों NCERTs, you have 2 NCERTs in 11th and 2 NCERTs in 12th. All these 4 NCERTs are extremely important for your prelims and your means. In fact, in the prelims, you get direct statements from these NCERTs. स्टेटमेंट तक उठ के आता है इन NCERT से. आपके इन NCERT से डायग्राम्स में से सीधे सवाल आते हैं. 2 साल से आइसोथर्म एक डायग्राम है, हम पढ़ेंगे क्लाइमेटोलॉजी में, उसके ऊपर सवाल आ रहा है आपका सीधा NCERT से उठकर. तो आप 11th और 12th की NCERT को तो आपको घोट के पी जाना है. यू हैव टू ट्रीट इट लाइक योर यू नो द बाइबल, द गीता और द गॉस्पेल ट्रूथ, कि आपको उसका कोई भी शब्द ऐसा ना हो कि समझ में ना आए, और आपको उससे रिलेटेड कोई भी सवाल अगर पूछा जाए तो वो आपको आना चाहिए. रिमेनिंग NCERTs will help you build the concept. Once you have done this, next you have to purchase an atlas. I would recommend the Oxford Student Atlas for competitive exam. Oxford Student Atlas for competitive exam is a good atlas. If you already have an atlas, don't purchase new. Absolutely do not purchase new. And if you have another atlas called Orient Black Swan, ओरिएंट ब्लैक स्वॉन भी एक बढ़िया एटलस है. आपके पास अगर नहीं है एटलस तो इसको खरीदिएगा, लेकिन अगर ऑलरेडी आपके पास ये एटलस है या कोई एटलस घर पर है तो आपको ज़बरदस्ती अलग से नहीं खरीदना. यू डोंट हैव टू परचेज एनीथिंग ट्वाइस. नेक्स्ट, व्हाट शुड यू डू? व्हाट इज अनदर स्टडी मटीरियल? यू हैव टू बी vigilant when you're reading newspapers. When it comes to newspaper, as I think too many times it has been told to you by many people, teachers, toppers alike, you can either read The Hindu or Indian Express. दोनों बढ़िया न्यूज़पेपर्स हैं, दोनों सही तरीके से न्यूज़ देते हैं. लेकिन न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ने के बाद आई वुड से बहुत ज़्यादा नोट्स बनाने के चक्कर में मत रखिए. एक आदत पहले डेवलप कीजिए न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ने की. बच्चा क्या करता है, न्यूज़पेपर नोट्स बनाने में लग जाता है. न्यूज़पेपर नोट्स बनाना, जिसको न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ने की आदत नहीं है, वो सबसे पहले इस तरीके के न्यूज़पेपर जिनमें बहुत चटपटी बना के खबरें नहीं दी जाती, जहाँ पे प्रॉपर तरीके से जर्नलिज्म आज भी ज़िंदा है, वहाँ पर एक तो न्यूज़पेपर ख़त्म करने में आपको अमूमन 1.5 से 2 घंटा लग जाता है शुरुआत में, जब आपकी आदत नहीं होती. और आपको ऑलरेडी आदत नहीं है, आप ज़बरदस्ती न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ने की आदत डेवलप कर रहे हैं. आपको ऑलरेडी अगर 1-1.5 घंटा लग रहा है, 2 घंटा तक लग रहा है, और उसके बाद अगर आप नोट्स भी बनाने चले गए हर एक टॉपिक के, तो आप 4 से 5 घंटा सिर्फ न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ते रहेंगे. और इस वजह से क्या होता है ना, बच्चे की आदत ही नहीं डेवलप हो पाती न्यूज़पेपर की, क्योंकि वो इतना परेशान हो जाता है 1 हफ्ते 2 हफ्ते में कि वो चुपचाप न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ना छोड़ देता है. वो भले इस बात को माने या नहीं माने, टीचर से बोले या नहीं बोले, और धीरे धीरे करंट अफेयर्स मैगजीन उठनी शुरू हो जाती कि मुझे क्रक्स मिल जाए, मुझे कहीं से क्रैश मिल जाए. और उस वजह से होता क्या है कि हमारी जो एक एनालिटिकल अंडरस्टैंडिंग होती है, जो मुझे हर सब्जेक्ट के लिए चाहिए, न्यूज़पेपर का मतलब ये नहीं होता कि केवल करंट वाले सब्जेक्ट्स में ये काम आएगा. जैसे अभी अगर आप न्यूज़पेपर्स को देखेंगे तो वो इंडियन मॉनसून सिस्टम के बारे में भी बात कर रहा है, वो ग्लोबल वार्मिंग के बारे में बात कर रहा है, वो ये भी बता रहा है कि ये जो ग्लोबल वार्मिंग से मॉनसून फेलियर हो सकते हैं या ओवर रेनफॉल मोर देन द मॉनसून, जिसको बोलते हैं मॉनसून सरप्लस, इसकी वजह से इकोनॉमिक लॉस क्या होगा। अब ये तो धीरे धीरे पढ़ने से आदत बनेगी ना। तो आपको क्या करना है, आपने नोटिस किया होगा आपके फादर या ग्रैंडफादर, उनको आदत है कि सुबह जब तक उनको न्यूज़पेपर नहीं मिलता है वो तब तक अपना दिन शुरू नहीं करते, वो चाय के साथ न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ते हैं। उनको कोई कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्ज़ाम नहीं देना, लेकिन उनको एक आदत है, उनको एक कंटिन्यूएशन चाहिए कि अब देश में कहाँ कहाँ क्या हो रहा है। हमको धीरे धीरे वो डेवलप करनी है, हमको भी लगना चाहिए कि आज न्यूज़पेपर में क्या आ रहा है। तो नोट्स के चक्कर में मत रखिए, पहले 1 से 1.5 महीना डेली न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ने की आदत डालिए। आपको एक आइडिया होना चाहिए कि कंटिन्यूएशन में क्या हो रहा है, इंटरनेशनली क्या हो रहा है, नेशनली क्या हो रहा है। दूसरा, पॉलिटिकल न्यूज़ एग्ज़ाम के लिए इम्पॉर्टेंट नहीं है, मज़ा बहुत आता है पढ़ने में, किस इलेक्शन में क्या हुआ, किस तरीके से वोट पड़े, लेकिन यूपीएससी कोई भी पॉलिटिकल सवाल नहीं पूछता। तो यदि आपको शौक है वो एक बात अलग है, लेकिन इस प्रिपरेशन के लिए आपको बहुत ज़्यादा एनर्जी पॉलिटिकल न्यूज़ में नहीं चाहिए। दूसरी, न्यूज़पेपर नेवर आस्क्स यू अबाउट स्पोर्ट्स पर्सनैलिटीज़ और इंडिविजुअल्स, दे आस्क यू अबाउट द थीम. So for example, there is an individual woman who has raised the issue of women empowerment. They will not be asking about the woman, they will be asking about the issues of women's safety or the issues of women rights, etc. तो हमेशा जो सार है, what is the crux of that entire issue, try to focus on that. So please use newspapers for every subject to your advantage. When it comes to geography, for geography you have to read your newspaper from 2-3 perspective. For example, if there is any country or region, if there is any country or region which is in news for any mineral resource, for example cobalt, for example rare earth element, for example iron, coal, you need to know that country and that region. And you also have to see how the newspapers are talking about transport, how they are talking about economy, क्योंकि ये मुझे human और economic geography में help करेगा. This will help me in human and economic geography. Next, never ever skip the class. Try to be regular in the class. Never skip any class of any subject. Every 2-hour class is at least 5 to 6 hours of self study if you do not attend the class. Try to make running notes in your class. I will be dictating also, but आदत डालो scribbling की, and कोशिश कीजिए कि डेली आप हर टॉपिक पे अराउंड शुरुआत में 100 वर्ड्स लिखना चालू करें किसी भी टॉपिक पे. मान लीजिए आज एक छोटा सा टॉपिक मैं आपको पढ़ाती हूँ जो कि हम जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी या जो पहली क्लास होगी उसमें हम लेते हैं. तो आज आपको जब ये छोटा सा टॉपिक आप पढ़ेंगे, आपके पास इसकी 100 से 150 शब्दों की समरी होनी चाहिए. When you summarize something in 100 to 150 words, you only have to write the crux plus the flow. That kind of gives you an idea whether you have understood the subject or not. If you have not understood the subject well, you will not be in a position to summarize it. Only somebody who has a clarity, who has a clear understanding will be able to make a good summary. I will also teach you in my classes how to make synopsis. बेटा synopsis क्या है? Synopsis are those short summaries which has diagrams and which has flow charts, and these will help you as your quick revision notes in the prelims. I'll make a synopsis today so that you have an idea. Let us start with our first topic of geomorphology. Geomorphology. Now geomorphology has 3 words: geo, morph and logy. Geo means earth, morph means to change, anything that changes, and logy means study. So when we use the word geomorphology, we basically focus about the facts how the earth has changed over the years, how many of you have studied or heard that all the continents of the earth were once one group? All the continents were together. As you can see, there was a time in the history of the earth when all of these continents were together. They were combined together. They were not separated as we know them today. Today, if we look at the world map, the continents, they look like this. This is how the world looks now. These are the different mountain systems. The world looks like this. It is North America, there is South America, there is Europe, there is Africa, there is Asia, Australia, New Zealand, Antarctica. But there was a time when all of these continents were together. These continents were together, and this supercontinent or the region which actually had all of this continental mass together, this was called Pangaea. यानी कि we are talking about a time जब कॉन्टिनेंट्स आपस में सेपरेट नहीं हुए थे. हम सबको एक कहानी पता है. We all know a story that Earth was a ball of gases, and this ball of gases started rotating. Then after being a gaseous ball, then it started converting into liquid, and then slowly it started solidifying. When it started solidifying, you had these kind of continental masses which actually were all together. This one supercontinent which had all these continents tied together, this was called Pangaea. This was called Pangaea. And around this Pangaea, you had water surrounding it, and this super ocean was called Panthalassa. So you have a supercontinent. The supercontinent was called Pangaea, and then there was a super ocean called Panthalassa. ये सब हमको किसने बताया? ये कहानी हम सबको पता है. आपको ये नाम नहीं पता होंगे कि पेंजिया या पेंथेलासा है, कईयों को पता भी होंगे, विच इज़ अमेजिंग. लेकिन किसने बोलना शुरू करा कि यार ये सब ऐसा था? क्योंकि वर्ल्ड मैप तो हमको इस तरीके से दिख रहा था. एंड व्हाई वुड एनीवन स्टार्ट थिंकिंग दैट ऑल द कॉन्टिनेंट्स माइट बी टुगेदर? देयर हैज़ टू बी सम एविडेंस. सो ये सारी कहानी शुरू होती है 1915 में. In 1915, we had a man called Alfred Wegener. एल्फ्रेड वेगनर, जो कि एक क्लाइमेटोलॉजिस्ट थे, जो कि क्लाइमेट स्टडी करना चाहते थे. एल्फ्रेड वेगनर साहब ने बोला कि जब मैं क्लाइमेट्स के बारे में पढ़ रहा था तो मैं अलग अलग कॉन्टिनेंट्स में गया. मैं साउथ अमेरिका गया, मैं यूरोप में गया, मैं नॉर्थ अमेरिका गया, अफ्रीका भी विजिट किया, एंड ऑल्सो parts of Asia and Australia. And when I started studying the climates of these areas, मुझे धीरे धीरे ऐसे evidences मिलने शुरू हुए. I started gathering such evidences which hinted me towards the fact that all of these continents were together, and at different timelines they started separating from each other. He was not a geomorphologist. वो geomorphology या how the different parts of the earth have formed, he was not studying that. He was basically studying the climate of the region. He was basically trying to study the ancient climate of earth, how during the initial formation years the earth was having the climate. And then he stumbled upon these facts that during his study he found that many of the regions which are right now completely frozen, which are having very cold climate, for example northern Canada, for example the area above Siberia, the area which is northern part of Norway, Sweden, Finland, all of these areas which are extremely cold, which barely receive any sunlight, there was a time when these areas were having tropical climate. Now how come areas which are so hot have tropical climate? It is difficult to understand. And he also said that I have found evidence that many animals were found across different types of continents. For example, do we understand what are marsupials? क्या होते हैं marsupials? मार्सूपियल्स जैसे कैंगरू, जिनका पाउच होता है और उसके अंदर वो अपना बेबी, कैंगरू का बेबी क्या कहलाता है, जोई, राइट। सो कैंगरू कैरीज इट्स जोई और इट्स बेबी इन अ पाउच, और वो जिस ग्रुप ऑफ एनिमल्स को बिलोंग करते हैं उसको बोलते हैं मार्सूपियल्स। तो जैसे मार्सूपियल्स हैं, मार्सूपियल्स जो कि हमको अभी पता है कहाँ मिलते हैं, मोस्टली ऑस्ट्रेलिया में, लेकिन उन्होंने बोला कि इन्हीं के जो रिलेटेड एनिमल्स हैं वो ऑस्ट्रेलिया न्यूजीलैंड में तो मिल ही रहे हैं, वो अफ्रीका में भी मिल रहे हैं और वो साउथ अमेरिका में भी मिल रहे हैं। ये जानवर तैर नहीं सकते, दे कैन नॉट स्विम। सो इफ दे कैन नॉट स्विम, हाउ आर दे बीइंग फाउंड इन डिफरेंट जोग्राफिकल लोकेशन? या तो इनका एवोल्यूशन एक साथ हुआ है, या फिर ये पहले एक ही जगह का हिस्सा थे और अब ये एक दूसरे से अलग हो गए। उनको और एविडेंसेस मिले, फिर उन्होंने फाइनली कंक्लूड किया कि यार ये सब कुछ पहले एक ही सुपर कॉन्टिनेंट था, दिस वाज वन सुपर कॉन्टिनेंट, उसके आसपास देयर वाज वन सुपर ओशन एंड उसके बाद द सेपरेशन स्टार्टेड, और यहाँ से उन्होंने जन्म दिया, ही गेव द बर्थ, ही ओरिजिनेटेड द फर्स्ट मेजर थियरी विच outlined the possibility that the world map that we see today has never been the same. It has been continuously changing and will change in future. He was the first man to say that nothing is static. कोई भी चीज़ static नहीं है, स्थिर नहीं है। ये पहले भी बदलती हुई आई थी, जैसे कॉन्टिनेंट्स हम आज देख रहे हैं ये पहले भी बदले थे और ये आगे भी बदलेंगे। ऐसा नहीं है कि ये चीज़ें ऐसी ही रहेंगी। उन्होंने पहली थ्योरी दी और इस थ्योरी का नाम था द कॉन्टिनेंटल ड्रिफ्ट थ्योरी। बेहद इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक है, हम इसको और डिटेल में करेंगे ड्यूरिंग द लेक्चर्स, बट जस्ट टू गिव यू एन आइडिया हाउ टू प्रिपेयर ज्योग्राफी एंड व्हाट टू एक्सपेक्ट फ्रॉम द फर्स्ट पार्ट ऑफ ज्योग्राफी, दैट इज जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी. सो द कॉन्टिनेंटल ड्रिफ्ट थ्योरी which came in the year 1915 was given by Alfred Wegener. Now, Alfred Wegener, as I said, geomorphologist नहीं थे. Alfred Wegener was studying climate or climatology, and then he stumbled upon the facts that all the continents were once part of a supercontinent called Pangaea. Pangaea. And he also said that Pangaea is surrounded by Pangaea is surrounded by a super ocean called Panthalassa. एक हमारे पास सुपर ओशन है, that is the largest water body, that is called Panthalassa, and this Panthalassa was surrounding Pangaea. And then he said that over the time the cracks started appearing. This Pangaea started splitting up. इसमें split होना शुरू हो गया. इसमें एक हिस्सा ऊपर की तरफ अलग जाने लगा, एक हिस्सा नीचे की तरफ अलग जाने लगा. The Pangaea started splitting apart, creating two parts of it. As you can see, this is what the theory was talking about. I am purposefully not using the words 250 million years ago or anything, because I simply want to give you an idea about a theory. This will further be discussed in detail when we take up the geomorphology class. So, if you see, this is what he was talking about. He said that the entire region was once one supercontinent. This supercontinent then started splitting away, and then slowly it started drifting away from each other. Now, the first split which happened, that first split in Pangaea, let us assume this is Pangaea, This is Pangaea. The first split in Pangaea resulted in development of two other continents, supercontinents. One was called Laurasia, another was called Gondwana land or Gondwana. Laurasia also received another name over the years, and that is called Angara land. तो भाई अभी तक क्या हुआ है? अभी तक ये हुआ है, अल्फ्रेड वेगनर साहब ने बोला कि सारे के सारे जो आपके कॉन्टिनेंट्स थे ये पहले एक ही लैंड मास का पार्ट थे और इस सुपर कॉन्टिनेंट को नाम दिया गया पेंजिया। ओवर द टाइम इस पेंजिया के टुकड़े होने शुरू हुए। पहले दो बड़े टुकड़े हुए, उनको भी उन्होंने सुपर कॉन्टिनेंट बोला, एंड दीज सुपर कॉन्टिनेंट्स वर कॉल्ड लॉरेशिया और अंगारा लैंड, जो रिलेटिवली छोटा पार्ट था, रिलेटिवली स्मॉलर, एंड द लार्जर पोर्शन विच वॉज कॉल्ड गोंडवाना लैंड। कुछ कुछ सुना लग रहा है गोंडवाना, राइट? क्या हमारे यहाँ गोंडवाना एक्सप्रेस होती है, क्या हमारे यहाँ गोंड ट्राइब्स होती हैं? उसके पीछे क्या रीज़न है? क्योंकि हम इसी का हिस्सा थे। सो दिस इज़ ऑल्सो द ब्यूटी ऑफ इंडियन कल्चर, दैट समथिंग एज ओल्ड एज दिस स्टिल हैज़ एविडेंसेज इन इंडिया इन द फॉर्म ऑफ tribes or the region. Anyways, so the Pangaea started splitting into two supercontinents, which is Laurasia and Gondwana, and from this Laurasia we had North America, Greenland, and part of Europe, or let us say Eurasia. Not entire Eurasia, a certain portion of Eurasia. Gondwana land से कौन कौन से हिस्से बने? From the Gondwana land, you had the biggest portion, and that was Africa, Antarctica. क्या सबको साउथ, ग्लोबल साउथ धीरे धीरे दिखना शुरू हो रहा है? साउथ अमेरिका, इंडिया एंड ऑस्ट्रेलिया, ये आपके मेजर हिस्से बने। When Alfred Wegener was saying all this, the people started saying, give us evidence, how come you are suddenly saying that all of this was clubbed together and now it has started separating? That is when Alfred Wegener started giving his evidences. He said, हवा में बात नहीं कर रहे, हमारे पास पुख्ता सबूत हैं जिससे हम ये बता सकते हैं that yes, these continents were together, and this is the beautiful mystery that over the time these continents have been separated. अब बात ये है कि जब उन्होंने एविडेंसेस देने शुरू किए तो लोग कन्विंस तो हो गए। जैसे उन्होंने क्या क्या एविडेंसेस दिए? The evidences that he gave, एविडेंसेस जो उन्होंने दिए, उन्होंने कहा आप एक बार थोड़ा सा इस मैप को देखिए। उन्होंने बोला कि अगर मैं इस पूरे मैप को देखूं, जैसे कि ये एक एविडेंस है, ये गोंडवाना लैंड था। उन्होंने कहा आप इनकी बॉर्डर्स देखिए कॉन्टिनेंट्स की। अफ्रीका के इस हिस्से में बखूबी आपका साउथ अमेरिका का ये वाला हिस्सा फिट हो जाता है, जैसे इसी के लिए बना हुआ है। तो ये ऐसा लगता है कि किसी पजल का पार्ट है। इट फील्स एज इफ दे आर द पीसेस ऑफ पजल, विच ही सेड दैट देर इज अ जिगसॉ फिट, देर इज अ प्रॉपर फिट, वन पीस fits perfectly into another. For example, he also gave this evidence. For example, here you have this Madagascar and there is India, and you can easily fit them. India can be very well adjusted. This part of India, ये आपका इंडिया का ये वाला हिस्सा है, ये ईस्टर्न कोस्ट है, ये आपका वेस्टर्न कोस्ट है। ये हिस्सा देखिए आपका एंटार्क्टिका में फिट हो रहा है। एंटार्क्टिका का एक हिस्सा ऑस्ट्रेलिया की जो बॉर्डर है, अगर मैं इसको सीधा कर दूं तो यही तो ऑस्ट्रेलिया का मैप है। उन्होंने बोला कि आप एक बार हल्का सा इनको रोटेट करके देखिए डिफरेंट कॉन्टिनेंट्स को, ये बिल्कुल किसी पजल के पीसेस की तरह एक दूसरे से फिट हो रहे हैं। तो उन्होंने कहा लग तो सही रहा है। जैसे उन्होंने नॉर्थ अमेरिका और यूरोप को भी फिट करने की कोशिश करी। अगर मैं नॉर्थ अमेरिका और यूरोप की भी बात करूं तो ये देखिए, ये तुम्हारा नॉर्थ अमेरिका वाला हिस्सा है, दिस इज़ योर नॉर्थ अमेरिका एंड दिस इज़ योर यूरेशिया। ये देखिए, ये आपका अलास्का वाला रीजन है, ये आपका ईस्टर्न पार्ट है। सो ही गेव प्रॉपर मैप्स that how these continents can fit into each other. So the first evidence that was given by Alfred Wegener was the jigsaw fit. ठीक है, और बताइए, केवल ऐसे फिजिकल एविडेंस से हम ये तो नहीं बोल सकते कि सारे कॉन्टिनेंट्स जो हैं वो अलग हैं. आप एक थ्योरी बोल रहे हैं, यू नीड टू हैव मोर एविडेंसेस. ही सेड okay fine, let me give you more evidences. The next evidences that he gave was the climatic evidence. What did I tell you from the beginning? That Alfred Wegener basically was a climatologist. तो उन्होंने जो evidences दिए वो next evidence था climatic evidence. क्या climatic evidences दिए कि the different regions have experienced similar climate together. For example, if you look at this, इस map को ढंग से देखते हैं. इस मैप में अगर मैं टाइमलाइन से चलूँ, इफ़ आई गो बाय द टाइमलाइन, दिस इज फर्स्ट, दिस इज सेकेंड. नाउ लुक एट दीज मैप्स. इन दीज मैप्स द होल पेंजिया इज टुगेदर. दिस इज द गोंडवाना लैंड रीजन, दिस इज द लॉरेशिया और अंगारा लैंड रीजन. इफ यू नोटिस द लॉरेशिया एंड अंगारा लैंड, द लोअर पोर्शंस आर राइट नाउ इन द ट्रॉपिकल जोन. He said that these regions which are supposed to be colder experienced tropical climate at the same time, and you have evidences in the form of fossil. Now what is fossil? Fossils are remains. So let us say if I am in India, will I have a tropical kind of vegetation? Will I have trees like mango and I'll have trees like banana which are only found in the areas which are hot? I don't have mangoes in Europe. I do not have bananas or banana trees growing very well in the northern Europe which is cold. So he said that certain types of vegetation is only found in the warmer climate, and if you have the evidences of these plants in countries which are supposed to be cold, countries like Canada, countries like Norway, यहाँ पर मुझे किसके evidence मिले? ऐसे पेड़ों के जो कि बहुत गर्म एरिया को बिलोंग करते हैं. इसका मतलब क्या है? दिस बेसिकली मीन्स दैट दीज कंट्रीज ऑल्सो एट वन पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम वर एक्सपीरियंसिंग दी ट्रॉपिकल क्लाइमेट. एंड सिमिलरली ये साउथ अमेरिका है, ये बिल्कुल पोल्स के पास है. ये इंडिया है जो कि बहुत ठंडे एरियाज में है. ही ऑल्सो सेड दैट दीज कंट्रीज विच टुडे आर इन दी ट्रॉपिकल जोन. इंडिया क्या है? ट्रॉपिकल है, गर्म देश है, यहाँ पर गर्मी पड़ती है. लेकिन एक समय था जब ये बहुत ठंडे इलाकों में था. There was a time when it was in areas which are closer to poles, where it was having very cold conditions, cold climate, and at that time you had glaciers in these regions. And in glaciers ने जो मिट्टी बनाई है जिसको ग्लेशियर टिल बोलते हैं, ग्लेशियर टिल मिला है इन रीजन में, मिट्टी मिली है. जैसे रिवर्स मेक अलूवियल सॉइल, glaciers make glacier till, that is the soil that is formed by the glacier. So he said that these countries like Africa, South America, India, which are supposed to have extremely warm climate and temperature, have glaciers at one point of time. They had glaciers and they created the glacial till, and there are evidences of glacial till in this region. So he said that you have extremely cold climate and associated evidences in tropical region. You have extremely warm climate evidences in otherwise cold region. यानी जो areas आज की डेट में बहुत ठंडे हैं, the areas which are extremely cold, there I am finding the evidences of tropical climate at one point of time. And the areas which are extremely hot like Africa, like South America, like India, I am finding the evidences of them being extremely cold. जैसे ऑस्ट्रेलिया की बात कर लीजिए, ऑस्ट्रेलिया ये रहा. Australia is mostly a desert, but if you are finding glacial soil in Australia, it kind of gives you an idea that this region at one point of time had glaciers, and these were continental glaciers. So he said that when he gave the climatic evidence, he said that the countries like Canada, Norway, Denmark, etc. In bracket you can write currently having cold climate. So, the countries like Canada, Norway, Denmark, etc., which currently have the cold climate, once had tropical conditions. So, one time they had tropical conditions, and when I say tropical conditions, I am talking about both the climatic conditions and the vegetation. यहाँ पर मुझे tropical evidences मिले हैं of both vegetation and the tropical climate. Second evidence of climate was that the tropical countries like India the tropical countries. Now, here the tropical countries you can write the countries of Africa. Africa is not a country, but the countries of Africa, countries of South America, Australia, India. This region once experienced glaciers or had glaciers covering the entire region and has developed glacier soil और ग्लेशियर टिल, यानी इस पूरे रीजन में एक टाइम पर ग्लेशियर से भरा हुआ था ये, एंड यू हैड ग्लेशियल सॉइल और ग्लेशियल टिल in this region. So, you have these two climatic evidences that countries which are cold once had hotter conditions and vegetation, countries which are very hot right now once had glaciers. Next evidence that you gave was the fossil evidence. Now, one fossil evidence you have already mentioned, one fossil evidence is of vegetation. So, among the fossil evidences, the first fossil evidences you have already given about the vegetation, that you already have the countries which are hot in the tropical conditions having glacial kind of weather conditions, and the countries which are extremely cold having tropical conditions. But इसके अलावा जो other fossil evidence है that has been described very beautifully, has been given very beautifully by National Geographic, and this is this infographic I have taken from the site of National Geographic. You will find it I think in the NCERT as well. Do you see these are different animals? Let me zoom it out for you. Now, as I told you, if I find similar animals in an area which is very much away from each other, and that animal cannot cross that area simply by crossing the ocean. For example, if I look today in today's map, Africa and South America are very far away, but when I look at the fossil remains of Mesosaurus, what is Mesosaurus? It is a freshwater reptile. Now, this freshwater reptile, which can be only found in the rivers, cannot even cross the ocean as it will not survive. How come? This Mesosaurus is found in the southern part of Africa as well as this central to southern part of South America. It kind of says that it was found in this entire region while they were attached as one region called the Gondwana land. Similarly, we also have the other remains. You have this another reptile which is the Cyanonaths. Cyanonaths, which is also a reptile, is said to be found in South America as well as Africa. Now, also a reptile which is terrestrial based, which only can travel in the land, is found in two continents which are separated by the Atlantic Ocean today. That is my Cynothensis. Next is the variety of plant which is found across the entire Gondwana, and this variety of plant, if I can show you here, this fern variety is found in Australia. It also has evidences in Antarctica, which right now is completely covered with glaciers, cannot have vegetation, but still has fossil remains of these ferns, these are Glossoteris ferns. Glossoteris ferns were one of the major evidences submitted by Alfred Wegener. So, he said you have fossil evidence of this fern found in Antarctica, in Australia, in India, in South America and Africa, telling you that there was a time when all of these land masses were part of one major landmass called Gondwana, and this was a common vegetation, and you still have the fossil remains. You also have remains of this another Lystrosaurus. Lystrosaurus also a reptile from Triassic, see Triassic Jurassic. We will be doing the geological time scale also when we will be doing in the classes. So, when we will be doing the time scale, we will be talking about the different eras and the different animals which were found. So, during the Jurassic and Triassic era, you had the dominance of reptiles, with the dinosaurs being the most dominant reptile. So, from that family, the animal which is found in Antarctica, in India, Madagascar as well as Africa, the fossil remains whose have been found, which is Lystrosaurus, is another such evidence. So, when we talk about the fossil evidence, these are all the common fossil evidence which have been highlighted by Alfred Wegener as well. So, in the evidences we will write that the presence of fossils or fossil remains of reptiles from common era, reptiles from a common era. Now, which common era am I talking about? Triassic, across entire Gondwana. So, in the entire Gondwana, I am finding the presence of the fossil evidences from the Triassic era. So, I have the fossil evidence of vegetation as well as the fossil evidence of reptiles or the animals which is found throughout the Gondwana. He also gave the evidences of rocks. He said that the similar age rocks were formed in different areas. In fact, while he gave the evidences of rocks and their formation, he said that the mountains such as the Appalachians which are found in USA, Lapland which is found in Scandinavia, and Urals which are found across Russia, they all belong to the same mountain system. He said that they are part of the same mountain system. The continents started separating and these mountains have separated from each other. And for that he studied the rocks, and he said that these rocks are from the same time and they have been formed at the same timeline. Now, this was a huge evidence. He also studied the mountain system of the ocean, but since this is more visible to us, just imagine Appalachians which is in USA, from Scandinavia, Norway, Sweden, you have the Lapland, 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 and Ural mountain, Ural, Ural mountains of Russia, all belonging to the same timeline. So, he gave the fossil evidence, he gave the climatic evidence, he gave jigsaw fit evidence. He also said that the rocks have been studied and they have the same properties called paleomagnetism. We will study what is paleomagnetism once we understand the interior of the earth as well. But he said that these rocks, in simple layman language, these rocks were formed at the same time and were showing the same magnetic properties. So, it cannot be a coincidence that they are found across the different continents. They should belong to the same mountain system when they were formed, and now they have been separated. And this separation has taken place over a long period of time. So, this was further the evidence which has been given by him, in which he talks about how the different types of structures have also formed at different times, and now they are simply separated from each other. So, in the evidences we will further add that the evidences include, after the fossil evidence, you can say the evidences also include the magnetic properties and origin of rocks in different mountain ranges across North America and Europe. And he concluded that these mountain ranges have formed at same time and belong to the same system. They belong to the same mountain system. They belong to the same timeline and they also belong to the same mountain system. So far Alfred Wegener has given a lot of evidences. There are other evidences also, but these were some of the major evidences. There are telluride evidences also. For example, I have included them as well. If you see further, you can find these evidences which have been given, and these are also given under the plate tectonic theory, which was also mentioned in the NCERT. So, when Alfred Wegener started his discussion from how the Pangaea and Panthalassa, and from there the different mountain systems or the different continents have started evolving, these continents then further resulted into further bifurcation. So, it started with Pangaea. From Pangaea it became Laurasia, Angara land and Gondwana, and then further Laurasia, Angara land separated into North America and Eurasia, Gondwana land separated as South America, Africa, India, Australia, and then further how the current world map is looking. In this process he also mentioned that there was a sea, the first sea, also called the tongue of water body, that appeared between Gondwana land and Laurasia, and this tongue of water body is called Teth Sea. Sometimes it is also pronounced as Tethys, but I think it is the Teth Sea. This Teth Sea was the first sea which appeared from the Panthalassa, as you can see here, and this Teth Sea has an important role to play. This Teth Sea is also associated with Himalayan formation. So, we will be studying how the Himalayas also have a direct connection from the first sea, with the first sea of the the history of earth, and that is your Teth Sea. And not just Himalayas, the deserts of Rajasthan, Mediterranean Sea, Aral Sea, Black Sea, Caspian Sea, they all somehow have a direct association with the first water body or the first water tongue that appeared, and that is Teth Sea. How many of you are convinced that Alfred Wegener was correct? Whatever he has said so far makes sense, that yes, the continents were all together, and he has given so many evidences. There are more evidences on this, but we have discussed the important ones. Then where did the problem come? The problem came from the fact when the scientific community, when the people who were listening to his argument started asking a single question: from where do you have the source of energy? How are such huge regions moving from one location to another? By that time, we had already understood that the topmost layer of the earth is called Sial. At that time, we had already understood that the topmost layer is called Sial, the middle layer is called Sima, and the lower layer or the core of the earth is called Nephi. So, this crust or the Sial, which is in solid state, has another layer below it that is called mantle or Sima, and you have a region of core called Nephi. At that time, we had somewhere understood that these are the three layers. No further bifurcation was known. We had not known what could be the sub parts of Sial, Seema or Nephi, but these were the three major concentric layers or the three layers of earth. So we had this understanding. Now Alfred Wegener started giving his reasoning. Do you understand what the doubt was? The doubt was that how come this crust, which is roughly 100 kilometers, this crust which was roughly 100 kilometers, how come this lithospheric crust, this solid layer crust is freely moving from one place to another? First you are saying it was one major continent, then you said it spread into two. When it split into two, there was a small water body, okay, leave it apart. Then these Laurasia and Gondwana further started bifurcating into other smaller continents. अरे how come they are moving from one place? ऐसे कैसे एक जगह से दूसरी जगह 100 किलोमीटर की लेयर घूम रही है? आप समझ रहे हैं? फ्रिक्शन कैसे आप ओवरकम करेंगे, कैसे आपको सोर्स ऑफ एनर्जी मिलेगा? क्योंकि अगर इतना बड़ा रीजन एक जगह से दूसरी जगह जा रहा है तो सोर्स ऑफ एनर्जी शुड ऑल्सो बी वेरी प्रोमिनेंट. दिस इज वेयर द एल्फ्रेड वेगनर वॉज नॉट वेरी कॉन्फिडेंट. दो according to his understanding, he said that the Sial, which is the crust or the uppermost layer or the lithospheric layer, right, lithospheric, lith का मतलब होता है rocks. So the topmost layer जो कि rock से या solid से बनी है, उनके अनुसार according to him this lithospheric layer or this 100 kilometer crust is floating over liquid mantle or seema. He said that this layer is in liquid state and this layer is in solid state, and the solid state or solid layer is floating over the liquid layer. And he said that by every concept of density, buoyancy, the liquids can allow the solid layer to float over it. Now the biggest question that was raised, that if it was so freely moving, why don't we feel that movement now? We might not consider ourselves, but let us say our 3 generations are always living on this earth. Yes or no? You, your grandfather and your father, you 3 conscious generations are always living on the earth. That means roughly 100 to 120 years of history can be traced with this. You have your own, for example, I am a 35 years old woman. So I have 35 years of understanding my father who's 65, he has 65 years, so 30 more years over there, and his father is 85. So do we understand that roughly there is 100 to 150 years, if there is great grandfather also alive, we have roughly that timeline always with us. And how come we have never experienced this free float, as you are saying, that freely Sial is moving over Seema? He could not explain it properly because the reasons that Alfred Wegener gave were not satisfactory. The first reason, that Sial is freely floating over Seema. The second evidence that he gave was that it is the tidal force. Now what do you understand by tidal force? Tidal force is the gravitational pull that we experience on earth from moon and sun. So he said that the tidal force of moon and sun are also responsible for the movement of these continents. He said that the gravitational pull of moon and the gravitational pull of sun are basically responsible for this movement of 100 kilometers of layer, this layer. This is where the argument started losing. This is where Alfred Wegener was, who was able to convince that yes, the continents were together, was not able to convince the source of energy. Because you have to understand, if the tidal force of sun and moon is so strong and it can easily move 100 kilometers of lithosphere from one location to another, then Mount Everest is how much? 8,800 something meters. Roughly speaking 8.8 kilometers. So don't you think Mount Everest can be easily be blown away in the sky because of the gravitational pull of moon and sun? So he said that it does not make sense. You cannot suddenly say that the 100 kilometers of lithospheric layer is simply moving from one location to another because of the gravitational pull of sun and moon, that when the moon comes closer to a region, it starts pulling a portion of lithosphere away from it, results into the breaking of the supercontinent and development of a new continent. And the gravitational pull of sun is also not that strong, that it will start splitting the entire lithospheric layer or continent. He also said that due to the rotation of the earth, due to the rotational force, the continents are moving westward and they are moving towards equator. So, earlier the continents which were all concentrated towards the south pole. How? If you look at this diagram, you will see that the continents were earlier towards the south pole. They were earlier towards the south pole. Here, right? They were more concentrated towards this region, and slowly they have started moving towards the northern hemisphere. So, he said that because of the rotation of the earth from west to east, it has pulled the continents, especially the continents of North America and South America, westward, and pushed a few continents eastward, for example, India and Australia, and the continents northward as well. Now, this is where scientific community said, you are not making much sense. Rotation of the earth is happening every day, and we cannot feel the movement of the earth that prominently. The gravitational pull of sun and moon is also present every day. We feel it in the form of high tides and low tides, but it has never resulted in the free movement of Sial over Sima or the crust over mantle. Alfred Wegener was correct that the continents were together, but he could not explain the source of energy. His theory in 1915 could not prove that 250 million years ago, the supercontinent started splitting and we started having two separate continents, Laurasia and Gondwana land, which further created more continents, North America, Eurasia, Greenland from the Laurasia, and South America, Africa, India, Antarctica and Australia region from Gondwana land, because he could not explain the source of energy. Then came on the scene a man called Arthur Holmes. Arthur Holmes not only helped us in understanding further the interior of the earth, he also helped us to understand how currently we have this map. He created this map that there are different plates, there is different source of energy. That source of energy that is coming from the interior of the earth, like this. He said that it is not just crust, mantle, core. The interior of the earth has multiple layers, multiple concentric layers, and you cannot simply understand the interior of the earth through these three layers, which is the innermost being core, the middle being the mantle, and the outermost being the crust. For a very long time this has been our understanding that the most interior, which is the core, is responsible for us to have the gravitational field. The crust is the lightermost layer that we live in, which is all absolutely true, but there are also further classification. What are these classification? He said that these layers are further divided into different zone. He talks about an region, an area which is called asthenosphere, an area which is responsible not only for the formation of continents, but for every process like mountain building and volcanism and earthquake, tsunamis that we experience in our life. It was Arthur Holmes, then Harry Hess with sea floor spreading. He not only helped us understand how the continents moved away from each other, but also how the different oceans were formed. While how the different continents were separated, we had an idea. But in that Alfred Wegener theory, we only talked about Panthalassa, which was a super ocean, and Tethys Sea, which was the sea. There was no mention of Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Southern Ocean, Arctic Ocean. How come these oceans came into existence? It was said that the current remaining part of Panthalassa is Pacific Ocean. But then how come Atlantic formed? Atlantic, which is the second largest ocean, which by the way in future will be the largest ocean. To answer all of these questions, in geomorphology we study the next two theories, and that is convectional current theory, which helps us in proving that Alfred Wegener was not wrong principally, but he could not explain the right source of energy. Harry Hess helps us understand how the oceans were formed, and then finally the plate tectonic theory, which is called the theory which explains everything, helped us in understanding how the different geomorphological or physical features came into existence. You can find the study material or this PPT related on the app as well, and in geomorphology not only we will understand the different endogenic forces or the forces from the interior of the earth, we will also study exogenic forces, the forces which we experience such as running water, such as glacier movement, such as movement of wind, and how these different forces have created the beautiful landforms around us, the mountains, the river valleys, the gorges, the canyons, etc. So, all right student, this was my attempt to introduce geography. This was my attempt to also tell you the kind of subject it is. The kind of questions which are asked in this paper include the questions from understanding the concept and implementing it. For example, they can ask you a question that why Himalayas are so prone to landslides, but southern hills do not experience landslide. They can ask you a question that when we talk about the states on the Western Ghats, what are the states on Western Ghats? Maharashtra, Karnataka, Goa, and between Maharashtra and Karnataka is Goa. So, if you go by chronological or the order of north to south, you have Maharashtra, then you have Goa, then you have Karnataka and Kerala. How come you always have issues of flooding in Kerala, but you never have issues of flooding in Karnataka or Maharashtra? In fact, in the regions of Karnataka and Maharashtra, you have so severe droughts that you see farmer suicide. सबसे ज़्यादा फार्मर सुसाइड कहाँ पर होती है? महाराष्ट्र में. और हमने जब आपसे पूछा था कि सबसे अमीर राज्यों में कौन आएगा, तो हमने भी महाराष्ट्र बोला था और कहीं ना कहीं आपने भी सोचा होगा कि महाराष्ट्र एक रिच स्टेट तो है. तो ऐसा कैसा है कि हमारे देश का जो सबसे अमीर राज्यों में से एक है महाराष्ट्र, वहीं पर सबसे ज़्यादा किसान आत्महत्या भी होती है? हाउ कम इट इज़ दैट दीज आर टू completely contrasting situation? The reason is geography of that place. So, allow me to help you not only understand this subject, but to literally see and live this subject around you. Geography एक इतना खूबसूरत सब्जेक्ट है बेटा, क्योंकि इसमें आपको हर चीज़ दिख रही है, आपको इमेजिन नहीं करनी. आपको पहाड़ दिख रहे हैं, आपको पठार दिख रहे हैं, you can see plateaus, you can see rivers, and then you can wonder how they are formed. इस सब्जेक्ट में उल्टा होता है. जनरली हम पहले देखते हैं कि वो चीज़ कैसे हुई और फिर उसका प्रोडक्ट आता है. यहाँ पर प्रोडक्ट तुम्हारे सामने है, माउंटेन तुम्हारे सामने है, तुमको क्या पता लगाना है कि ये बना कैसे है. सो देर इज़ अ रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग. यू हैव द प्रोडक्ट इन फ्रंट ऑफ योर आइज एंड देन यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड हाउ दिस प्रोडक्ट हैज़ कम इन टू द करंट शेप. So this was my attempt. I hope you have understood the very basics and the way to approach this subject. I'll help you further in understanding the entire syllabus of geography. Till then, have a very nice day. Thank you so much.